Why most people struggle to learn languages? And why are you maybe struggling learning French? There's a widespread mistake in language learning that we'll see everywhere, and which is vertical learning. And vertical learning consists in learning tables and words list by heart. So this is the traditional way of learning languages. But the problem is that learning conjugating tables and words list by heart will not help you to make sentences. That's not the way languages work. Because you can find consistency in French and logic that gets you to speak French. But when you group words and ideas in other ways. So today, we'll learn to speak French in another way. We start from zero. You don't even need to know anything in French. And you're going to make sentences in spoken French straight away. But what's the deal? In order to imprint the French logic in your mind, I'm going to tell you French words and how to arrange these French words together. And each time I tell you a word or how to arrange them, then I ask you to say that word or to make a little sentence out loud. You don't have to worry about memorizing because I give you the French words. I'll give you the memory hacks and we'll do spaced repetitions. So you will remember anyway. But you have to make the sentences out loud. That's your only job and that's important. This is a guided speaking session and it will work only if you make the sentences out loud. And my job is to imprint the French logic into your mind. First, we're going to make French sentences slowly together so you understand what you do. And then we'll do a speed training so you can master what you learned and speed up your French speaking. So don't take notes, but focus on what I say, relax, and make the sentences. So first, we're going to start with she in French. How do you say she in French? She is elle. So you can say it, elle. So E-double-L-E, elle. And now let's say she goes. So to say goes, you just say the little word va. V-A and the A is A in French. So va. So how do you say she goes? Elle va. Elle va. Now, he in French is il. I-L and the I is I. So, il. So, how do you say he goes? Il va. Il va. So now we can say two things. First, there's a clear difference between the il and the elle. So don't say something between il and elle because otherwise we don't understand. And to remember that, you can see that he in English, there's a sound I, like in il. So he is il, which is different from elle for she. So she goes, elle va. He goes, il va. And now second, how to remember va. Actually, there's va in English, in words like invader, because invaders are people who go from one place to another. So you can use the etymology. So we have that invader, we just take the VA that we pronounce va in French, because the A is A, va. Now we are going to say, she goes to Paris. So how to say to in French? The to before cities in French is always a. So you write it a with a grave accent. And then we have Paris, which is in French Paris. So you hear that we don't pronounce the S of Paris. because in French, you never pronounce the last consonant of words. So that's a big pattern that only has a few exceptions. Usually, you don't pronounce the last consonant of words in French. So, Paris. So now, how do you say she goes to Paris? Elle va à Paris. And to go a bit further, we can add that the va and the a sound like one word, like a long a. Va. So a long a, but with a heavier end. Va. Elle va à Paris. So now how do you say he goes to Paris? Il va à Paris. Il va à Paris. So we have a long A, but don't forget to make a heavier A at the end. Va, il va à Paris. Otherwise, we hear something like he goes Paris. So we need that too in English, so we need the A in French, the heavier A. Il va à Paris. And now, how do you ask questions in French? Let's see how to say, does she go to Paris? And actually, the common way of asking questions in French is by just saying the statement, but with an interrogative tone at the end of your question. So you're going to say, she goes to Paris? And in French, that's the way of asking the question, does she go to Paris? So can you ask the question in French, does she go to Paris? Elle va à Paris. Elle va à Paris. And now, can you ask the question, does he go to Paris? Il va à Paris. Il va à Paris. Now, let's see the negation in French. How do you say he doesn't go to Paris? So the mark of the negation in French is the small word pas. So P-A-S, but the S is silent because it's the last consonant of the word. So just pas. And now the question is, where do you place the pas in French? And you're going to place the pas just after the verb. So first, how do you say just he goes? Il va. So how do you say he doesn't go? Il va pas. Il va pas, for he doesn't go. So how do you say he doesn't go to Paris? Il va pas à Paris. So here the long A is with the pas and the A. Pas. Il va pas à Paris. So now, how do you say she doesn't go to Paris? Elle va pas à Paris. Elle va pas à Paris. If you know a little bit of French already, you may have learned that for the negation, you also need ne. But here I'm teaching you spoken French, so you don't have ne in spoken French. And just to let you know, in written French and formal French, to make a negative sentence, you also need to make a negation with the subject of your sentence. And you place a ne just after the subject. but we don't use it in spoken French, so I will not mention it anymore. Now, how do you say oui in French? Let's see how to say the casual oui. The casual oui in French is on. On. So it's an O, but you add an N. But you don't pronounce that N. That N is just here to make a more nasal sound. Actually, it transforms the sound of the O into on. On. And on is really the casual way that we use all the time in spoken French. On for we. And now you can say we go. And there's no trap. Just do as you just did before. So how do you say we go with the casual we? On va. On va. And what's great with on is that it's like he and she, il and elle. The verbs that you conjugate with on are always conjugated the same way as with il and elle. So, on va for we go. So, how do you say we go to Paris? On va à Paris. On va à Paris. How do you say we don't go to Paris? On va pas à Paris. On va pas à Paris. Now the singular you, the informal singular you, is tu. So tu, and the u in French is u. So tu. So how do you say you go to Paris? Tu vas à Paris. Tu vas à Paris. And here you write va, V-A-S, but the S is silent. With tu, you always have a silent S at the end of the verb. So tu vas with a silent S. Also in French, there's only one present tense. So you go and you're going are the same in French. It's both tu vas. You go and you're going. So how do you say we're going to Paris? On va à Paris. So that's the same as with we go to Paris. We go to Paris, we're going to Paris. Both are on va à Paris. How do you say she's not going to Paris? So she's not going to Paris is the same as she doesn't go to Paris. So it's elle va pas à Paris. Elle va pas à Paris. So now it's time to do a speed training. So we're going to reinforce what you just learned. So first, we start slowly. How do you say he goes? Il va. He goes is il va. How do you say she doesn't go? Elle va pas. Elle va pas. How do you say you're not going? Tu vas pas. Tu vas pas. So now we're going to do it again. But this time I will not give you the answer straight away. I just say a little sentence in English and you say it in French. And then I say the next one in English and you say it in French. So we do a little series like that and then I'll give you the answers. And you can record you with your smartphone if you want to check if you did right. Okay, so let's go. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. He goes. She doesn't go. You're not going. We are going. He doesn't go. She's going. And that's it. So let's see that. First, he goes. He goes is il va. Then we had she doesn't go. Elle va pas. Then you're not going. Tu vas pas. The same as you don't go. Tu vas pas. Then we had we're going. On va. Then we had he doesn't go. Il va pas. And then she's going. Elle va. So you can let me know how you did. And actually, this lesson was the first part of my free masterclass, which is a whole course that gives you all the basics you need to start to speak French. So if you'd like the whole course, you can get it for $0 with the link below this video in description or with the link in bio. And thanks to this smart method, this guided speaking method, you'll be able to communicate in French by making real French sentences by yourself. I hope that you like this introduction, and I wish you to get to the level of French that you want to reach. And thanks for watching.